What was it then? Was it the action in the ring? Was it just the fact that the main guys had character development, had great promos? It wasn't over the top, because a lot of stuff we did in the Attitude Era, I mean, it was a lot of pretty forward-thinking stuff. Well, some of the sexual overtones were a little too much for even me. But, a lot of people, when I talk to or hear some of the comments made by certain WWE superstars, they look back at the Attitude Era as kind of a disgraceful period, and they think, there weren't any really good matches that happened back then, or really the product wasn't great. And, hey, I think some of the storylines were a little heavy on the sexual overtones. My deal has always been badass action, reasons to care about the characters, and great action in the ring with violence, as long as it was a means to an end. So, man, when I look back at some of these people who were either on the fringe or young in the company while this period was going on, I'm like, man, what are you talking about? There was some really, really good stuff. Certainly there was some of the stuff that just stood out as being glaringly bad, but dude, I don't think, maybe it was the right time at the right place and everything was lined up, but it was the hottest period in the history of the business. Would you attribute that just to the sole fact of what we were doing at WWE, or because it was competition-oriented and WCW was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the TV as well? How would you describe that, as much as you loved that old stuff back in the day?
Well, Steve, listen, I think wrestling consists of three things. I think there are three very important elements, and in my opinion, without these three elements, you don't have professional wrestling. And I'll be quite frank with you. I don't think any of the three exist today. None of them. That's why I am not a fan of the wrestling business today. Bro, it has nothing to do with me writing the Attitude Era or being stuck in the Attitude Era. Steve, I'm still a baseball fan today. I'm as much a baseball fan in 2016 as I was in 1976. But wrestling, no. And I'll tell you, here are the three things, in my opinion. Characters. Intriguing, compelling characters. You put those characters in compelling storylines. And number three, the fight in the ring, you believe it's real. You believe that people want to win. So you got your characters. The characters develop the storyline. They bring it to the ring. I believe I'm seeing a fight. I don't think any of those things exist in professional wrestling today.
Man, yeah, especially the third element that you just brought up, because I've talked about this match twice on my podcast before, you being as entrenched with your show and still, covering the wrestling / sports entertainment business. Did you get a chance to check out that match between Will Ospreay and Ricohet?
I absolutely did, yes.
Okay, you break that match down to me because I know you haven't been listening to my podcast. You're busy doing your own. I'm not going to sway you either way. Tell me your thoughts on that match.
Steve, can I tell you what's going on? And, Vader chimed in on that match, and he got beat up, and everybody's insulting Vader because, God forbid, Vader has an opinion. Do you know why people like me, call me old school, whatever you want, do you know why we take offense to watching a match like that? It's real simple, Steve, because they call it pro wrestling. If they called it something else, I think it would be okay. That is not professional wrestling. I just said to you, professional wrestling is character, story, and you believe the fight is real, somebody wants to win. None of those three elements existed in the match. So I'm not knocking the match. They can do whatever they want to do, but at the end of the day, if you call it professional wrestling, people like me are going to have an issue because that's not professional wrestling.
Man, I would argue, well, first of all, I concur with you on many levels. What those guys did as far as timing, precision, execution, check this out. If that would have been a karate movie or an action-adventure movie, those guys to film that scene, let's call it, that 20-minute scene, it might have taken them anywhere from 10 to 50 takes to get that right. And for the most part, they nailed everything dead on. So I got to give them a lot of props for that and the athletic ability that both men possess. due to the fact that one of them's only 23, I guess the other one's give or take around 27. I'm going to hire those guys because if they can do that, I can teach them or work with them on their character development. I can work on making it look more like a fight. Mechanically and talent-wise, they're very, very sound. But on the backside, going to what you're saying, calling it professional wrestling, I alluded to this if I didn't flat out say this, that to me, what that was more of, and I don't think then if I give you this term, it will make you angry or say, hey, that's not pro wrestling. I called that performance art.
Yeah, well, Steve.
So if you call it performance art, then it doesn't upset you because to me, that's what it was.
Yeah, and the word I use, Steve, I go back to Rocky III, Thunder Lips and Rocky, Hulk Hogan. It was an exhibition. That's what that match was. To me, we saw an exhibition. And, bro, make no question about it. These were probably two of the best in the world, as crisp as you can get. Better than anybody I've seen on the WWE in that type of style. But this was an exhibition. I never at one time, Steve, watching that match, I never felt somebody wanted to win. And if I don't feel somebody wants to win, then it's not pro wrestling to me.
No, I agree. The sense of urgency, or just trying to make a cover, make a 3 count, lay in your offense to make it an actual athletic contest. It has to be a contest. You can have 2 football teams go out there, and if they just go through the motions and run routes and the linemen are just grabbing their guys and just kind of standing there, hey, that's not really a football game. When it's a slugfest and there's a will to win and it's dirty, sometimes it gets sloppy and it's not so crisp and clean. Man, I'd rather see a couple of botched moves in a hard contested match than see, perfect execution and somewhat of almost ballet-type performance. Again, performance art, exhibition, as you put it. And again, I'm not running down both guys because I put this match over being what it was. I'm not going to go back on that statement. But as we're talking about, why you didn't like it, my thoughts on it, yes, I don't believe it was professional wrestling in the sense of, especially going back to the early days, WrestleMania 1 through 3, that period which you're so fond of. Me, that Attitude Era, or that mid-'80s work style, man, when the NWA, Bill Watts, Mid-South Power Pro, man, some of the, Ted DiBiase, some of those matches, him, Michael Hayes, Jake the Snake Roberts. I mean, everybody in that locker room could work their ass off, and you thought, oh yeah, the business has always been a work, but back then, the way it was presented and the way the guys worked in the ring, it was a friggin' contest.